The 90s comeback is already dying off, it's now time to bring back the OOs.
The previous generation Audi RS4 Avant had a rip-roaring, naturally aspirated V8 behind its giant grille, but you won't be surprised to hear the latest, 2018 version of Audi's medium-size, maximum pace estate doesn't.
Harking back to its roots of the original B5 RS4 launched in 2000, this B9 version has succumbed to the downsizing trend with a 2.9-liter twin-turbocharged V6, the same unit fitted to its RS5 coupe cousin. Despite having 1,269 fewer cc to play with, the V6 packs near as damn it the same power output as the retired V8 and a whopping 125 pounds-foot more torque, while, most significantly, generating a quarter less CO2 on the test cycle, and eking out an extra 5.7 miles per gallon.
Most of the weight saving can be found here, weighing 31 kilograms less than the preceding 4.2-liter V8.
The 2018 Audi is 0.6 seconds quicker than its predecessor from 0 to 62 miles per hour, at 4.1 seconds and tops out at 174 miles per hour, if buyers spec the optional RS Dynamic package.
Otherwise, it's electronically limited to 155 miles per hour as standard.
At 1,790 kilograms, you wouldn't describe the 2018 RS4 Avant as lightweight, but it does weigh 80 kilograms less than the outgoing RS4.
As the Quattro badges and widescreen wheel arches suggest, all-wheel drive is standard, shuffling the torque split front to rear as required.
During typical driving it's 40-60 front-rear, with as much as 85% of torque possible to be directed to the front or 70% to the rear as the system detects wheel slip. An electronically controlled sport rear differential is an option in some markets, but will be fitted to all new RS4s in the UK as standard, with the ability to precisely portion more or less torque to each individual rear wheel as required.
All cars also feature torque vectoring by braking.
An 8-speed Tiptronic torque converter auto is the only gearbox option, in place of the old car's 7-speed dual clutch.
Although the 2 generations previous 2005 RS4 was available as a saloon, estate and cabriolet, the current car will be sold only as an estate Avant in Audi world, just like the outgoing RS4.
The not officially confirmed but almost certainly happening 4-door Audi RS5 Sportback will fulfill the same role as a saloon.
While 19-inch wheels are standard, the larger of the 2 options available are 20 inches in silver or black, wearing 275/30 Continentals front and rear.
Opt for the Carbon Edition and a set of 20-inch, gloss-milled aluminium wheels shave a further 8 kilograms in weight.
It has to be said, the RS4 has far more presence in real life than it does in pictures. Those arches punch out an extra 24 mm in width compared with the standard A4 Avant and sits 30 mm lower.
Those giant oval exhaust outlets manage to make it look lower as well as wider.
The dark vents flanking the taillights aren't actually real, disappointingly, but help to add even more visual wit.
Audi reckons its wide arched shape draws design inspiration from the Audi 90 IMSA GTO, Check it out in our gallery here, a good thing to draw inspiration from, even if it's probably not necessarily the first thing that comes to mind when you look at the RS4.
As per the regular A4, cabin fit and finish is hard to fault, and judicious use of aluminium and Alcantara trim helps lift the ambience a little.
The now well-established digital virtual cockpit TFT instrument panel sits behind the wheel, with extra RS-specific displays available such as boost pressure, tire pressures, power and torque output, and a G-meter, which is probably the last thing you should be looking at while you're cornering at any kind of meaningful.
It's augmented by a genuinely useful head-up display beamed onto the windscreen, which is pin-sharp, and, helpfully, includes an oil temperature readout along with the usual vehicle speed and sat-nav instructions, and, less usefully, a lap timer.
In finest fast Audi tradition, there's a pair of plush, bear hug bolstered sports seats up front, available in varying levels of cushion plumpness for the honeycomb stitched leather.
As you'd expect, there's masses of lateral grip and traction, but it's to the RS4's credit that it doesn't feel inert or anodyne like some fast Audis of old. It's not as involving as an AMG C63 Mercedes, for instance, or a BMW M3, and it's not the last word in driver feedback, but it is a car that can be rewarding to drive when you want it to be, and entirely undemanding the rest of the time, which feels very much in line with the RS4's ethos.
To exceed the chassis and tires limits you'd have to be going faster than I'd feel comfortable on the public road, but you can subtly adjust the car's attitude with the brakes and the throttle. Driven normally, there's plenty of front-end grip and all the traction you can eat, with torque vectoring by braking helping out to carve a clean corner exit.
It's something you can get used to, and perhaps even take liberties with, especially on wet roads. The two cars we tried were on 20-inch wheels and were fitted with the optional dynamic ride control, DRC, with hydraulically controlled damping. In the firmest dynamic mode, the ride is really quite choppy on all but the smoothest roads, and you'll likely quickly tire of it.
Comfort mode feels the best option for the majority of circumstances, and on British roads, the RS4 is more effective at absorbing bumps than an RS5, with a less knobbly ride in this softest setting.
For a near 1,800 kilograms car, the RS4 controls and hides its mass very well indeed. I didn't miss the dual-clutch gearbox, the 8-speed Tiptronic shifting unobtrusively in auto mode and supplying gears when requested without fuss in manual mode.
The only fly in the ointment comes during low-speed maneuvers when it can be slow to engage between drive and reverse gears. The optional sport exhaust makes a theatrical belching noise on upshifts under load, which adds to the sense of occasion but does sound a bit synthetic, as if it's been carefully programmed to do so. The optional sports exhaust makes a theatrical belching noise on upshifts under load, which adds to the sense of occasion but does sound a bit synthetic, as if it's been carefully programmed to do so.
Otherwise the V6 makes a decently characterful sound, a muted rasp with a bassy undertone filtering into the cabin with more volume than the RS5.
We tried the optional ceramic brakes, which were very impressive, confidence-inspiring bite from cold, decent feedback through the pedal, and easy to modulate.
But much of the same praise could also be applied to the standard steel brakes, coming in at 375 mm up front and 330 mm at the rear.
One option best avoided is the variable rate dynamic steering, which, although better than previous iterations, still feels odd as it weights up in an unnatural way. The regular steering setup works well on its own, with 3 levels of power steering weight to choose from: comfort, auto and dynamic.
Regardless of mode, there's decent feel and feedback. There's also a 72,000 pounds carbon edition, with various option packs bundled in and, as the name suggests, plenty of bits made from CFRP, including details on the front spoiler, sills diffuser, mirrors and interior trim. Those playing spot the difference will notice the standard fit red brake calipers, rear privacy glass, matte aluminium radiator grille, matrix LED headlights and black Napa leather seats with red stitching.